All right, so we are back with season 3 of Football with the Great American Youth. If you followed us through
I'm
the last
hyped.
2 seasons, you know we've had highs and lows through this series. We started off with some pretty big lows, finishing last place, but last season was a big high for the both of us. We
Great
dominated the
season.
league. The
Great
podcast
season.
podcast let it be known that we are a dominant fantasy football force. That we are experts when it comes to fantasy football, and
And we feel good about our teams this year, you know? We got
exactly,
great teams
exactly.
already.
We
ESPN
couldn't
might not
just
respect us, but they didn't respect us last year either, so.
exactly. ESPN hasn't been respecting us, but we couldn't just leave you off on a good season 2. We had to come back for season 3 and let y'all know we have sustained success in fantasy football. This is what we do. So I'll let you take it away with going over last year, and you obviously it went well for you.
Last year was great. I really want to give a shout out to Christian McCaffrey, my boy. We'll always miss you, but you're definitely getting injured this year, so good luck with that. But yeah, I mean, last year was it was a weird season. There's a lot of the league was below 500, pretty much just Joel, Matt, and I were the only people above 500, and I personally had my best fantasy season, at least regular season fantasy season ever, and I couldn't be more proud of all the players on my team. We really we got my money back with the points scored, so thank God for that. Really wanted to take home the chip, but at least somebody on this podcast did. So not a major L. I'll get my money back. But yeah, I mean, last year was weird. I'm just glad I made the playoffs, had a solid season. Like nobody can crap on my team. You got to respect us now after the season, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, I was like, really, that was the goal going into last year, was to make sure that no one could disrespect our teams. And obviously, Jacob came out of it regular season champ. I came home with the title at the end of the playoffs. It was a great season. Justin Jefferson carried me through. I got the number 1 pick. I used it to my advantage. He ended up being my winning player, and despite winning the league last year, I've won the league 2 out of the 3 most recent years that we've played. We don't have a dynasty league. In order for me to get a dynasty, I got to keep drafting well. I got to keep managing well. I got to keep showing you guys that I'm good at fantasy football. So, I'm not going to let last season.
We will.
Exactly. We're going to keep showing you guys. So that was last season. It's in the past. We're moving on to this year, and we have some exciting new additions to the league this year. We've been operating under a 10-team format for the entirety of the existence of this league. We have upgraded to 12 teams, and we have introduced three new members to the league. So, yeah, I mean, how are you feeling about our rookies this year, our rookie class going into this year?
Yeah, honestly, they're joining a tough league. Like, I don't know. I don't know if you could expect to, like, easily to make the playoffs, especially now that it's like 6-6, split up very well. If I had to guess, at best, one of them makes the playoffs, but I still think that would be a bit of a hot take. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we saw Adwin last year. He was our main rookie. He didn't do poorly, but he didn't make the playoffs ultimately. So I think that it's clear that how, based on how established our league is, there's going to be a bit of a learning curve for some of these guys, especially given that some of them haven't played fantasy football all too much, or aren't too experienced with it to begin with. But hopefully we'll chat with some of them throughout the course of this year. We'll see how their teams do. It's fresh blood, and it's extra teams. I think is definitely something we were pushing for over the last few years. So to be able to get the bump up to 12, it's nice to get that extra money in the pot, and to
bigger pot,
have
exactly.
some extra competition as well.
Totally. Just changes things up. It's great to have. But yeah, I mean, let's get into this year, We're back, refreshing our teams. We obviously had our classic horse. It wasn't a horse race. It was just football players running across the football field race to pick the draft order. And UCA came out on top, obviously meaning TMC is probably going there. We'll show you guys the results soon. But yeah, I mean, you ended up with the 8th pick. I ended up with the 10th pick. I was honestly not too happy about it going into it, but obviously we'll share our draft news later. And Lucas got the last pick for his rookie season.
Yeah, I think there was one thing that was the 8th pick, I was just happy not to get the first pick. Again, Yusuke, getting stuck with the first pick and, Edmund spoiling his pick, going with CMC. That's a risky pick. It never feels super comfortable having to go with someone number one, and especially a guy who's had injury issues in the past. He pushed you to regular season number one last year, but we know how fantasy football goes. You can never know what's going to happen. Yeah, it's like injuries are bound to happen, so wouldn't be surprised if at some point this year, we see that number one pick back to bite Yusuke. But yeah, coming out of the draft, the ESPN rankings, you mentioned it. ESPN does not favor us. It did not like us last year.
They don't like it.
The results were not great for us. Starting at the top, Ian, he came out with the top projected team. Joel, then, the two Matts, Yusuke. Sebastian, one of our rookies, he's projected to make the playoffs. And then outside of that, yeah, it's like 52%, pretty good. But outside of that, the rest of us below 50%, and us too, again, in the bottom three.
No respect.
Lucas.
No respect.
With a rookie. Doesn't make sense.
A rookie. After winning the league and
not accounting for league history.
No, they do not put that into consideration, clearly. And honestly, I don't think they clearly looked at our teams. I think our teams are two of the top five in the league, at least.
Yeah.
At least. Not trying to be cocky, but I feel like we have solid teams.
But yeah,
what are we doing?
Yeah, and we'll get into your team. It is interesting to see, though. We got these initial playoff percentages. Ian at 60%. I was surprised to see 60% from him. I feel like that's relatively high for us to not even play a game yet. Yeah, I was like, nothing's even happened yet, and ESPN's kind of saying like he has a more than decent shot. So yeah, that one was the only standout thing. But yeah, I'll let you get into your team. Tell us why you're better than 12.
I'm just baffled by that number personally. I mean, we'll get to your team too, and I feel like we're very similar in our running back quality and depth. We're like probably the only two teams in the league that have three starting worthy running backs. Which being able to start a running back at flex is a game changer. That's like a dream come true. And we have guys that are. I mean, I'm going to spoil your team a little here, but Raheem Mostert and David Montgomery. Those are. I mean, yes, they split carries a little bit, but they can get you high quality production, and you're getting them at your flex. Like that's a steal in my opinion. And yeah, so I mean, I think that obviously you can see my top pick there being Garrett Wilson. I love getting him. I mean, there's no chance Aaron Rodgers gets hurt again. I mean, this dude it's going to be the Devontae Adams of that team. Let's just be real, he is. Mike Williams isn't going to take away that many targets from him. He's still the best receiver on that team. While I do like Mike Williams, Garrett Wilson's going to be him this year. Kyren Williams, Josh Jacobs, arguably, I mean, I wanted both those two running backs in the second round. I wanted Josh Jacobs with my second pick. And I'm glad I got him with my third round pick, but, I think the two, I mean, they're on great offenses, which that's all you can ask for with running back. And they'll get the production they need. I just don't want Kyren Williams to get hurt. That's my only concern. I just saw a report they're putting him at punt returner, which I don't know why he would ever do that, but they said they want to get him more touches. So it sounds like they want to get him the ball more, but it doesn't help you as a fantasy player unless he's going to return those, so you better not get hurt. But, yeah, I'm excited. I mean, Deebo Samuel getting him in the fourth round, I thought that was my best value play. I thought he was the second, third rounder going in most drafts. I still think there's a solid chance the Ayuk situation doesn't get figured out. He might get traded, and if he does, Deebo Samuel's value goes through the roof. And even still, I've seen a lot of things. He's changed numbers, Deebo Samuel, and he got a lot bigger, but still faster. So I think they'll give him the ball more out of the backfield, which will be clutch to have at a receiver. And then the last thing I'll comment on, my sleeper pick, Marquise Brown. I was going for him in all my drafts. I think he's going to be the number one receiver for the Chiefs. It really depends how he comes back from this injury, but he's the most skilled receiver on the Chiefs, and Mahomes, I mean, he loves those fast receivers, so that's what Marquise Brown is. But my last thing I'll talk about is my QBs, Kyler Murray and Jaden Daniels. Definitely reached on Jaden Daniels. I'll admit that myself. But Kyler Murray, he's not 100% dependable, but he does have a lot of upside, being that he can run the ball, and that's why I wanted to get like a rookie that can do the same thing with Jaden. Because I mean, if you get a top QB, if he ends up being the CJ Stroud, that would be insane. But he actually runs the ball, so that would be even more points. And I really just want to make sure I get running back quality out of my QBs too, which I know that's asking for a lot, but I want to win. This is what you got to do to win.
Yeah.
All right, that's really all I've got about my team, but let's get into your team, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was going to say about your team. I mean, I like I think the setup of your team is good, and I do like the intentionality with the quarterbacks who can get rushing yards. Jaden Daniels, even though he's a rookie, I think that's obviously that was one of his main strengths at LSU, and coming into the NFL, you think that's
100%.
something that he'll keep up in the offense. And for Kyler Murray, he played pretty well when he came back from injury last year. They have Marvin Harrison now. Trey McBride, played well throughout last year as well. Arizona, I think similar to Detroit last year. I think Arizona, maybe I don't think they go as far as Detroit did maybe, but I see them being, kind of a breakout team that can do a lot better than people may be thinking. So I like attaching to those, and yeah, overall, like it's a good team. The one thing I do think is interesting is the 3 tight ends. I will say, but Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, if Mark Andrews goes down, Likely is
it's a great hand out there.
Yeah, I think as tight end handcuffs go, Likely is probably the best one that you're going to get. So I think it's solid value all the way across. And Taysom Hill, same logic with the rushing yards and just getting extra touches.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely like a little down bad at tight end. I'm not even gonna lie, but I think Cole Kmet could get production. There's a chance Taysom Hill gets production, and if not, I feel like I have the assets to trade for tight end. Like I was already starting to talk to a trade with Lucas for. I'll just say in the public, David Njoku, but he stole him from me in the draft, so I really want to get him. But yeah, I don't know. I really need to figure out tight end. But once I do that, I think I'll feel solid about my team. Now it's getting yours.
Yeah, coming in, I had the 8th pick. Similar to you, my focus was running back depth. I feel like something that has bitten me a lot in fantasy is not having 2 guaranteed good starters. You need to have an RB1, and you need to have you need to have an RB1 and at least like a mid-level kind of high-end RB2. You can't get away with playing a running back who's realistically a flex guy as your RB2 throughout the course of the season. That's not going to work.
100%.
So I knew going into this draft that within the first 4 rounds, I was going to draft at least 2 running backs. That was set in my mind. For the first pick, I did want a receiver. I was hoping to get Amon-Ra St. Brown. In my mind, that would be ideal if he could fall to me. And I thought about Garrett Wilson, but that felt like a bit of a reach to me at that spot. I wanted to lock in at running back. So went with, tried and true Jonathan Taylor. I think I've drafted him 3 out of the 4 years that he's been in the league. So he's locked in with me. I had him last year. I drafted him when he was hurt. He came through at the end of the season. Bringing him back and hoping that he can have, a fully healthy season. There isn't really, any legitimate backup. Trey Sermon means nothing to me. So Jonathan Taylor is going to get all of those touches and, hoping that he can bring back some of, I think it was 2020 or 2021 when he was an all-pro player. That's what I'm looking for out of him this year. And then to get Derrick Henry in the 2nd round right after that, I absolutely love. I think that him in Baltimore is a perfect match. I feel like they're going to feed him the ball, particularly in the red zone. I think he's going to get just as many touches, just as much volume. And I'm really excited for that 1-2 tandem at running back. I think Derrick Henry, for a lot of people, would just be their RB1. So to have him as my RB2, I think works out perfectly for me. My next 2 picks, both Seattle guys with Metcalf and Walker. And, DK, I'm iffy about, I'm not as comfortable with him as wide receiver 1. But again, like what you said at running back depth, I have Kenneth Walker as my flex. Behind him, I have Raheem Mostert, Devin Singletary. I have Kenneth Walker's backup in Charbonnet.
I actually misspoke about your team. I'm sorry to cut you off. I misspoke about your team. I forgot you had Derrick Henry too. That is. So you're starting Kenneth Walker at your flex.
Yeah, it's like Kenneth Walker's.
Mostert's coming off the bench.
Yeah, it's like Mostert's not even a starter for me.
Too, man. You're running back handcuffs. Like you're set. You're set everywhere. No one's seeing your guys.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like really, again, like with Jonathan Taylor, if he gets hurt, I don't think that Indianapolis's backfield has it clear enough. There's no Zach Moss there. So I don't care to really pick up, like whoever that backup is or whatever committee approach they do. It's not going to be better than
JT's more valuable.
Or Singletary. Yeah, like JT's more valuable than their backups. I have the top backups for everyone else and Mostert and, technically I didn't, in reality, he's probably not going to play a majority of the season, but Jalen Wright as well. I think those two picks are my best.
Could be the A-chain of this season, though.
Exactly.
They like to use those running backs.
I think A-chain and Mostert are both highly injury-prone running backs. They've shown that. A-chain did that last year, and Mostert has throughout the course of his career. I feel pretty good that at some point this year, someone in that backfield is going to go down, and it's going to result in either Mostert being the number one guy like he was for a lot of last year, or Jalen Wright getting an elevated role and being able to play in a flex position at the least. So I feel really good about my depth. Biggest dart throw and kind of my sleeper pick is Khalil Shakir. I feel like this is my bold prediction. I think he's going to lead the Bills in targets this year. Targets and or receptions. I think that, they have Curtis Samuel, but he's another injury-prone guy. They have Keon Coleman. He's a rookie. They have Dalton Kincaid, who I also have, but he's at tight end. I think Shakir is really well positioned. He's been in that team for multiple years. He played well towards the end of last year. I, am surprised that he fell to me as far as he did, and I think he's someone who, my receiver depth is pretty shaky behind DK Metcalf and Zay Flowers. I'm hopeful that Khalil Shakir can be a guy who shores that up for me and puts me in a position where if there is an injury or if there, when bye weeks happen, I can sub him in and feel comfortable. I have the running back depth where I feel like I can trade, and I have TJ Hawkinson as well behind Kincaid. So I have pieces that I can move around, but in a perfect world, Khalil Shakir can fill in as, that final receiver for me if I need him.
Definitely. Yeah, man, your team's stacked. I think, your only not downside, the only thing you maybe need to improve is receiver, but even so, with Zay Flowers, DK Metcalf, and you're kind of handcuffed to the offenses with, like, Derrick Henry and Kenneth Walker, you're kind of set. Like, I think you'll be getting the fantasy points from two of the best offenses in the league. So, like, you set yourself up well. You don't even need to play receiver. Like, you only really need two receivers with the running back depth that you have, too. Like, you literally don't need to worry about a third.
Yeah, it's like
crazy.
I feel comfortable with, and that's one thing I think DK Metcalf, I think, is a bit more consistent. Like, I don't know, he'll be a top 25, 20 guy. I'm not expecting him to, like, go too crazy. But Zay Flowers is someone who, he's maybe a bit outside of that. If Zay Flowers can be in that top 20 range as well for me, and he can be like a low-end wide receiver one range player, then I think I'm set. Like, I think that could really position me to, do a lot this year in the regular season especially. So
Definitely. Let's get into Joel's team. We've gloated ourselves a little bit too much now. Honestly, I've talked about this guy's Joel's team, Fraudulent Joel, as you guys probably know him, a lot in the past. I like to crap on him, but honestly, this team is pretty stacked this year. I personally really wanted to put him as the team to watch. Brandon, his receiver depth is pretty solid with Tyreek Hill, Chris Olave, Brandon Ayuk. And I really love his running backs. I mean, Aaron Jones could be a little shaky, but he's been solid in Green Bay. Like, I think it's just dependent on how good their offense can be. I really love James Cook. I think he'll be a beast this year. And then you got some good sleepers like Adonai Mitchell, getting him that late. Jaden Reed, how late you got him. Even Jerome Ford, like he's going to be the starting running back for the Browns for probably at least a few weeks. He got some good value late, which I admire, but I will say like his running back depth could use some help. He probably needs to work on that. He definitely knows that. I feel like we really set ourselves up well at running back this year, like you especially well. But I mean, he could probably use some of your help there for depth. But I like this team overall. How do you feel?
Yeah. No. Overall, he has good depth, and I think one thing that is important, like with top players, is like you want to have top players in top offenses, and then you want to have guys who are getting, regardless of the offense, they're getting a majority of the touches. You think Tyreek Hill, James Cook, Ayuk, top guys in top offenses. Olave's a guy who he's getting a majority of the touches. Aaron Jones, that offense, I think Aaron Jones probably is going to do better this year. I think Green Bay, like, I think he was.
They held him back.
I think he was just getting injured. He was getting in a cycle of getting hurt. A.J. Dillon was also a bit injury prone, so his usage fluctuated a lot. I think him being in a role where he can be like a complimentary guy, and especially for a PPR league, get more pass catching opportunities, I think that's going to work really well for him. So I think top to bottom, Joel's team is really good. Also, his last pick, Jordan Mason, to get McCaffrey's, top backup pretty much. At least, Elijah Mitchell is on IR right now, but until that's settled, Jordan Mason's his top backup. That's pretty significant. I think, one thing that, I benefited from a lot last year was those final picks. My last two picks were Sam Laporta and Nico Collins. Like, those picks carried me through the league. So, Adonai Mitchell, again, in that similar, Nico Collins mold of, I guess he's a rookie, obviously, but, he has the potential to really break out in that offense, an offense that has Anthony Richardson playing for the full season. And then Jordan Mason is that backup, takes one McCaffrey injury, and all of a sudden Joel has the number one running back in one of the top offenses in the league. So,
yeah, that's crazy. I didn't think about that, but he is set up well there.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about a team that didn't do so well. Max.
Down bad
team. Where do we start? You can start this one off, Anthony.
I mean, Justin Jefferson, like, I guess it's fine. The quarterback situation isn't great, but Justin Jefferson's a great receiver, so can't be mad at him.
He'll figure it out.
Mike Evans, he keeps getting 1,000-yard years, so I guess that's
he's getting old. That's my problem with him.
But he's getting older, and in round 2 to not prioritize a running back there, it's like, okay, you have 2 starting receivers, but neither one of them is really in a great quarterback situation. And you don't have
offense in general.
Yeah, or offense in general, and you don't have a running back. Then in the third round, I mean,
maybe we're just low on A-Chain, but it's just a risky offense to have your number one running back. I mean, it's possible A-Chain takes over, but like I do think Mostert will be the starter to start, and he'll probably take more of the carries, more of the touchdowns. But yeah, it's just Joe Burrow feels a bit like a reach to me at 4 too. Diggs getting old. I mean, he's a solid receiver. I liked him. I actually wanted him, but he's on a great offense. But there's like 3 other receivers there that could all get the ball. Zamir White. I don't even know what I want to say about that. But that's
yeah. And then past that, like Christian Watson, it's like, all right, that could be good, but he's injury prone. Tyler Lockett, it's like, I guess that could be good, maybe, but he's also getting older and injured. Like, it's a lot of the players that he picked. It's like, it's names, but how are these guys really going to perform, and like, how do they look in the context of their offenses and their situation? So, it's. He's a rookie. He's learning. This is his first year. We're gonna let him we're gonna let him grow. We're gonna let him figure it out. Maybe Max is first place at the end of this year, but yeah, I don't know. We literally, Max, not to make you feel bad, but Jacob and I, we texted during the draft. We were like, "Yo, Max has no running backs." We peeped it. We saw in the draft the depth, the lack of depth there. So, it's okay. You might figure it out. A-Chain might hit. A-Chain could be healthy all year. Mostert could get hurt. The reverse. Maybe my team is the one impacted instead of his. So, you never know what happens in fantasy. But, off of first viewing, we're feeling a little iffy about Max's team.
Definitely.
Yeah, headed into week 1 matchups. We're gonna, I guess we will not talk to you before those matchups, but we're gonna go over them before. So you got Joel week 1. How are you feeling about your team?
Joel's got a good team. I'm honestly pretty confident in my team, though. I think I set myself up well. The only thing I'll need to make decisions about most of the year will be tight end, which I don't love, but that's going to be my only decision that I need to make for this week, whether it's I start Taysom Hill or if Mark Andrews ended up missing this game, I'd start Isaiah Likely. But honestly, I don't know here. I'll probably likely go with Komet, but it's going to be tough pretty much throughout the year until I trade for somebody. But I'm pretty excited about my running backs. They're set up for, I think, high-scoring games this week. I think Kyler Murray, that could be a high-scoring game. Garrett Wilson, both our receivers going head-to-head on Monday night, too. I love that. That'll be great to watch. I'm pretty excited about this matchup. I think Joel's pretty stacked, too, especially at receiver. So really need his guys to be slowed down. I see that Jacksonville game being pretty high scoring with Miami, so that's not ideal. But I'm still pretty confident in my team. I think I'll end up persevering, have a great season again, and that's what I got. Let's get into yours.
Yeah, this week I got going up against Adwin. I feel pretty good going into this week. I think. Again, similar to you, my running back situation is solid. I have no doubts that Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, and Kenneth Walker are going to be, between those two, I'm going to be getting at least 2 touchdowns a game throughout this season. Like that's an expectation for me. I will say Adwin's receivers do give me pause. He has 2 of my receivers from last year, and Nico Collins and Jalen Waddle. I didn't even notice that. So he's pulling it. Yeah, I was like,
he's copped
my team. He's trying to steal the swag from me last year. But yeah, I feel his team has a lot of upside. Another thing to note, though, we don't know if Ja'Marr Chase is going to play or not. Really, Zach Taylor said he was going to play, but then he's not practicing anymore. That situation seems a bit. Yeah, it's a bit in flux. Not that Ja'Marr Chase is Ja'Marr Chase no matter what, but if Ja'Marr Chase for whatever reason is limited or not fully up to speed, there isn't really anyone else I'm not too bothered by Adwin's bench. I don't feel like there's anyone he's going to put in who's a like for like there. I think that would be a pretty, meaningful downgrade for him if Ja'Marr Chase isn't active. So I feel good going into this week. I think the first week of fantasy, it's always interesting because it's like you don't know what you don't know. All these projections. Yeah, it's like I feel good about my projections right now. It's like everyone's kind of projected around the same number. But after week 1, we're going to learn a whole lot. Injuries are going to happen. A whole lot's going to change. And, the season's going to be back in full swing. So, yeah, it's exciting.
We're about 10 days or 8 days away from the kickoff. Let's go, baby. Let's get another good season.
Excited, ready to go. And, yeah, we'll see you guys after week 1, maybe before week 1, maybe after. Going to try to get some guests on this year. Going to try to win the league again and do well. So, yeah, stay tuned.
Keep tuning in. See you guys.